this equation, we're going to solve a basic trig equation using the sum and difference of sine and cosine identities. Now, if you notice in this example, I have sine of an angle, cosine of an angle, minus cosine of an angle, and sine of an angle. If we label 3x as angle A, and if we label 6x as angle B, then we can think back and use our difference for sines formula. So sine of an angle A minus B has the formula sine A cosine B minus cosine A sine B. So we're going to substitute 3x in for A and 6x in for B. So when we combine this together, what we're actually going to get, we're going to put in for A 3x and for B 6x. We're working backwards to condense it. So this whole thing here becomes the sine of A minus B, which is 3x minus 6x, is equal to negative 0.45. So all I did was I identified which formula I'm going to use and identified each of my angles. And then I substituted back in here to condense this down, because now I have sine of negative 3x is equal to negative 4.5. Because I take 3x minus 6x, combine it, and I get the negative 3x. Now, we don't have to do this, but I think it makes it a lot easier than having to deal with that negative angle. If you recall, sine is an odd function, which means if I put in a negative, it's going to reverse the sign of my output. So if I switch the sign of the negative 3x, which would make it a positive 3x, that's going to switch the sign of my output. So that's going to give me 0.45. So I have this simple trig formula, which is sine 3x is equal to 0.45. So what we need to do is find x. So what we're going to do is we're going to work backwards. Typically, we plug into the trig function, we plug in an angle and we get out the ratio. But if we're doing it in reverse, where we know the ratio and we want to plug in the ratio and get out the angle, when we do it in reverse, we need to use inverse sine. So I'm going to do inverse sine, and I'm going to plug in my ratio, and that's going to give me my angle, 3x. Okay, so now this is where we have to put it in on the calculator. So I'm going to enter, make sure that you're in radians. I'm going to put in on I'm going to put in inverse sine 0.45, and the inverse button is right above your sine button. It has the sign with a little -1 up next to it, where you would normally see your exponent. So I'm going to hit second sine to access my inverse. Then I'm going to hit 0.45 because I'm inputting the ratio and I want to get out the angle. When we do that, making sure you're in radians, we're going to get the 3x is equal to 0.466765. I'm going to divide both sides by 3, and I'm going to get 0.155588. Let's see, and the question says round it to 2 decimal places, so my final answer is going to be 0.16 for this example if we round to 2 places. Then you can always go back in and check. So if I put in as x if I do sine of 3 times 0.16, then multiply that by the cosine of 6 times 0.16, subtract cosine of 3 times 0.16, times sine of 6 times 1.6, we should get negative 0.45 or something really close to it because we rounded, but it should come out pretty close.